All right, so Ainsley Earhardt, this Fox News host, just got engaged to Sean Hannity, and you want all the details, right? Let's dive in.
Okay.
These are two of the biggest names in conservative media, each with their own super devoted audiences. Hannity has that primetime show, you know?
Right.
Earhart's a familiar face on the morning shows, and now they're making headlines together as a couple.
Yeah, it is fascinating when you think about it.
It is.
Their careers have followed such similar paths.
Yeah.
Both worked their way up at Fox News, became these huge voices on the right.
Right.
And now their personal lives are all intertwined.
It's a story with so many layers.
It is.
To really get it, we need to go back to the beginning. Earhart started at Fox News back in 2007, anchoring the overnight news, but then she gets this huge break. She lands her own segment
Oh, yeah.
on Hannity called Ainsley Across America.
And that's a big deal.
It is.
Ainsley Across America wasn't just some random segment. It gave her a chance to show off her reporting skills, her ability to connect with everyday Americans. And she had this knack for finding these heartwarming, patriotic stories that really resonated with a certain audience.
Yeah.
It's very possible that that early exposure on Hannity's show helped shape her whole career and maybe even foreshadowed their future connection.
That's such a good point. Makes you wonder if there were already sparks back then, even before their divorces.
The timeline is fascinating, for sure. It adds a whole other layer to their relationship.
Yeah.
Raises all these questions about what their connection was like over the years and how it all evolved, especially given their personal lives and their ambitions.
And speaking of ambition, Earhart didn't just stop with Ainsley Across America. She kept climbing the ladder at Fox.
Yeah.
And she ended up co-hosting Fox and Friends, one of the network's most watched shows.
Right.
And along the way, she really cemented her image as a strong conservative voice.
Her trajectory is really interesting, especially when you consider how male-dominated cable news has always been.
Right.
She managed to navigate that world, carve out her own space, and appeal to a huge and loyal audience.
And one thing that really stands out about Earhart is that she is willing to express her conservative views.
Oh, yeah.
And often quite passionately. I remember there was this episode of Outnumbered.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, Outnumbered is this Fox News panel show where they debate current events. And Earhart was talking about religion and law enforcement.
Okay.
And she was really forcefully advocating for the majority, arguing they needed protection. It was just a very clear example of her taking a strong stance.
That incident is really telling about both Earhart's communication style and who her target audience is. By invoking the majority, she's tapping into this sense of shared identity and maybe even a sense of being under siege.
Right.
It's powerful rhetoric, and it really resonates with viewers who feel like their values are being threatened or ignored.
Exactly.
It's not just about stating your viewpoint. It's about framing it in a way that triggers an emotional response.
It definitely got people talking. Right.
And it highlighted how her personal beliefs are often a part of her political commentary.
Yeah.
And speaking of personal beliefs, we can't overlook the role of faith in her life.
Right.
Earhart's very open about being a devout Christian.
Yeah, this is central to her public persona. It's not just a private belief. It's something she brings into her work, her interviews, her whole message.
Right.
And for a lot of her audience, this mix of faith and politics is super appealing. It creates a feeling of authenticity and reinforces a shared worldview.
She's talked about how a book she read in college just ignited her faith journey.
Wow.
And she's even said she dreams of interviewing Jesus one day.
That's amazing.
It's really powerful how deeply her faith shapes her worldview.
It's incredible how one book at such a pivotal time in her life could have such a huge impact. It really speaks to the power of ideas and how they can shape someone's entire path.
Yeah.
I'd love to know what that book was and how its message resonated with her so strongly.
It'd be interesting.
Because it still influences her today.
Maybe we can figure out how those same ideas connect with her audience.
That's a great idea. We could get a much deeper understanding of the values that are driving her life and her career choices.
Yeah, and it could help explain how those values line up with the bigger narratives that Fox News often promotes.
Right.
Especially the ones aimed at that conservative, faith-based audience.
Okay, so we've established that Ainsley Earhart is ambitious, outspoken in her conservative views, and deeply rooted in her Christian faith.
Right.
Now let's talk about Sean Hannity. Both he and Earhart went through divorces in 2019.
Okay.
When exactly their romance started is still kind of a mystery.
Yeah.
But some sources suggest they might have been involved for years before the engagement was announced.
And that's where things get even more interesting.
Right.
There were these rumors that they went to a colleague's wedding together back in 2019 while they were still married to their previous spouses.
And to add to that already complicated situation, that colleague was Pete Hegseth, another Fox News host who also had a child with someone other than his wife while he was still married.
Oh my goodness.
What a tangled web.
It really makes you think about the dynamics going on at Fox News.
Yeah.
We're talking about a high-pressure environment where everyone's in the spotlight and personal and professional lives are bound to overlap.
Exactly. Yeah. It makes you wonder how Earhart and Hannity managed a long-distance relationship with her in New York and him in Florida.
Yeah.
They've said they kept their former spouses in the loop, but it still must have been a lot to juggle.
It really shows how technology has changed relationships, especially for people in the public eye.
Yeah.
Constant communication, virtual dates, bridging the distance, it's all become so normal. But that doesn't make it any less complicated to handle a high-profile romance like this.
Especially when you work at the same place.
Especially then.
So we've got this picture of Ainsley Earhart, ambitious, devout, and now in this whirlwind romance with Sean Hannity.
It's quite the story.
Everyone's talking about it, and it raises so many questions about the future of Fox News.
It does.
Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll explore the potential impact of this power couple on conservative media.
Looking forward to it. What's fascinating is how this relationship might change the power dynamics at Fox News.
Yeah.
We're talking about two of their biggest stars.
Right.
Now linked romantically.
It's like a media drama unfolding in real life.
It is.
So what does it mean for Fox News? I mean, do their platforms and influence just combine now?
It's not that simple.
Right.
They already reach millions individually, and now you have this shared narrative, this potential for crossover appeal.
Yeah.
Certain viewpoints could become even more prominent, especially considering their aligned ideologies.
They were both very conservative and religious.
Exactly.
So do you think this makes them more credible to their audience now that they're a couple?
It's possible. For some viewers, this union might really cement their trust and admiration.
Yeah.
Reinforce the idea that Hannity and Earhart aren't just talking heads, but people who actually live by the values they promote.
Right.
It could create an even stronger bond with their core audience.
But could there be downsides too?
Of course.
What about colleagues or viewers who aren't happy about this relationship?
That's a valid point.
Yeah.
This could lead to new factions within the network.
Yeah.
Maybe concerns about favoritism or changes in programming to accommodate this new power dynamic.
Right.
We might even see some colleagues publicly expressing their opinions, which could make things even more complicated.
It's like a game of chess.
In a way.
Every move they make, personally or professionally, could have ripple effects across the network.
Absolutely.
And what about the viewers?
Yeah.
Could some people be turned off by this?
It's possible. Some might feel it's too much of a conflict of interest.
So it's not just about Hannity and Earhart.
Yeah.
It's about how this relationship plays out at Fox News.
Right.
How it affects their internal dynamics and their relationship with their viewers.
That's all connected.
And thinking back to Ainsley's career, she was pretty strategic in building her place at Fox News.
Oh, for sure.
Starting with that segment on Hannity.
Ainsley Across America.
Yeah, and then working her way up to co-hosting Fox and Friends.
One of their biggest shows.
It is.
Her rise is impressive, especially considering the history of cable news being so male-dominated.
Yeah.
She's become this relatable figure, a working mom balancing family and career while upholding traditional values.
Right.
It's a powerful story that resonates with a specific demographic.
And her faith is a big part of her public image.
Absolutely. She incorporates it into her commentary, her interviews, even her personal stories.
Right.
For some viewers, that authenticity is a major draw. It reinforces their shared beliefs and values.
But it's also been controversial.
It has.
Remember that incident on Outnumbered when she was so passionate about defending the majority?
Yes.
Some people felt she was dismissing minority viewpoints.
Right.
How do you think that fits into the bigger picture of her role at Fox News?
That incident really highlights a broader issue with how Fox News operates. They often frame themselves as the voice of the silent majority.
Yeah.
Which can alienate those who don't identify with that label.
It's a tough balancing act appealing to a core audience,
right,
while also trying to navigate this changing media landscape and an increasingly diverse viewership.
Exactly.
And with Hannity in the picture, that balancing act becomes even more challenging.
Without a doubt. We're seeing the convergence of two influential figures with a lot of power over conservative thought.
Right.
The question is, what will they do with that power?
Yeah.
Will they try to bridge divides, or will they make the existing ones even deeper?
It's going to be fascinating to watch it all unfold. This really feels like we're seeing a huge change happening at Fox News.
It does.
And it makes you wonder, what does this all mean for the everyday viewer?
That's the important question.
Yeah.
It's easy to focus on the drama. But Fox News has this big influence on how people think, especially conservative viewers.
Yeah.
Understanding what's going on behind the scenes helps us make sense of the information we're getting.
It's all about media literacy.
Exactly. Being able to look at what we see and hear with a critical eye.
Right.
Recognize any biases and understand the motivations behind those messages.
So with all this mixing of personal relationships, political opinions, and media influence, it's even more crucial to be aware of what's really going on.
It is.
So let's talk about you, the listener.
Okay.
Why should you care about all of this? Whether you watch Fox News every day or never, what are the big takeaways from this deep dive?
I think there are a few things to keep in mind.
Okay.
First, this situation shows how the lines between people's personal lives and their public image are getting blurrier.
Right.
Especially with social media and the news cycle being 24/7.
It used to be people in the public eye had more privacy.
Right.
But now it seems like everything is out in the open.
It's happening everywhere, not just in media.
Yeah.
It makes us think about how we as consumers of information should handle this new reality. Do we hold public figures to a different standard when it comes to their personal lives?
That's a good question.
How much do their personal choices affect their professional ones?
Right.
These are important things to think about.
And the second thing
Yeah,
is that this whole situation emphasizes the power of the media,
absolutely.
especially in our world that's becoming more and more divided.
Fox News has a massive audience,
It does.
and the voices they promote can really impact public conversations.
And when those voices become even more intertwined.
Right, like Hannity and Earhardt.
Exactly.
We have to recognize how their combined influence could shape narratives and push certain agendas.
So to wrap up our deep dive,
Yeah.
let's leave our listeners with something to think about. What does the future hold for Fox News? Will Hannity and Earhart use their influence to change things at the network?
It's possibly.
Will they face pushback from colleagues or viewers?
Maybe.
Will their relationship make Fox News stronger or weaker?
Only time will tell, but it's definitely worth watching.
It is. The things happening here have implications that go way beyond just entertainment news.
For sure.
This is about the future of media, the power of influence, and the constant challenge of understanding the increasingly complex world of information.
Well said.
And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.